If you guys are interested in being a member, then click the join button down below to check out the available perks. The first tier is only $1. Thank you to those of you who choose to join. What's up mod squad, welcome to another Division 2 video. Before we get into the video, if you're already subscribed to me, then don't forget to smash that like button, as it really helps push our videos into the recommended section, which in turn helps the channel grow. Interaction is a big part of what helps us in the YouTube algorithm, and the extra support is very much appreciated. In today's video, I want to show you guys what are in my opinion the 3 best solo run and gun builds to use with the new exotic Ouroboros SMG. This new exotic SMG is exclusively tied to the new Paradise Lost incursion, which is dropped with the Season 2 Year 5 update. This SMG has a 10% drop chance on your first weekly clear, and then a 1% drop chance from each boss on each subsequent run. It's best recommended to do this with 4 players, and matchmaking is available. The great thing about this new SMG is it's one of those items you really don't have to try and build around. You can slot it into builds that you already use, and it's just going to do nothing but enhance them. So in today's video, I'll be reposting 3 of my best solo tank DPS SMG builds that I know will dominate with this new Ouroboros SMG. All these builds are community favourites and are great for returning players. If you're a returning player, let me know in the comment section below. Welcome back, and with that said, enjoy the video. In today's video, I'll showcase an easy to make tank DPS build for those of you who are returning to the game. This build will be easy to farm for, put together, and will help you steamroll through heroic content. It provides an insane amount of survivability and damage at an extremely fast rate. Without added buffs from Vindictive or Finisher, you can hit near 800k to the head of NPCs and 534k crits to the body. With Finisher and the Vindictive talent stacked together, you can hit 912k crits to the head and 756k to the body. And again, all this damage coming at the speed of 1200 RPM plus. Now for those of you who have been away for a while, in TU15 we got the new gear set Heartbreaker. Now although this gear set was built around assault rifles, the 4-piece is so good, much like Hunter's Fury, it can be used with other weapons and it's still extremely effective. This gear set along with Hunter's Fury are what I'd recommend for those of you who are getting back into the game, as they both provide insane amounts of damage and high survivability. I also recommend these 2 gear sets because they are both great for those of you who like to run and gun. Now when it comes to keeping stacks with this build, once you gain them, they are not difficult to keep. To gain these stacks as fast as possible, like always when it comes to Heartbreaker or Striker, I'd recommend using a shotgun, preferably the ACS-12. There are 12 pellets in a single shot, which will allow you to gain max stacks a lot faster, as you've seen in the gameplay. Max stacks will give you 50% bonus armor and 50% damage to pulsed enemies. If you're using a chest piece, which we are, then those stats go up from 50 to 100. Pulsing enemies is easy, as it only requires a single headshot to pulse enemies for 5 seconds. Or you can use the Banshee Pulse, which you gain from the gunner specialization. Also, the Striker drone has the ability to pulse enemies as it shoots them in the head. Along with helping you pulse the enemies, the gunner spec will also boost DPS thanks to the added weapon handling when sitting still, and you'll gain 5% rate of fire boost on kill. Gunner will also add to your survivability thanks to the 10% armor on kill. This build has a base armor of 1.3 million and can reach way over 2 million with ease. The trick is, the more aggressive you play, the more survivability and damage you gain. This build is perfect for all heroic content, whether that's control points, bounties or the summit, and is a lot of fun to use. I personally love using this when it comes to control points, and I can usually get a control point done in around 3 minutes flat. Now we spoke a little bit about the build and I'll showcase some of what it's capable of. Let's get into a quick build breakdown. Moving on to the gear pieces now guys, starting off with the Heartbreaker mask. As you can see, we have 15% assault rifle damage and 50% LMG damage, which won't apply to this build, but it doesn't matter because the 4-piece is so strong. We also gain 15% weapon handling from the 3-piece. That also is going to help with the terrible accuracy of some of these SMGs that we're using. We have 15% weapon damage, 6% critical hit chance, and 12% critical hit damage via a mod. Moving on to our chest piece, we have max armor at 170k, 12% critical hit damage, 12% critical hit damage via a mod. And then we have the max BP and talent, increases max stats from Heartstopper from 50 to 100. Moving on to our holster, we have 15% weapon damage and 12% critical hit damage. Our knee pads are the Fox Prayer knee pads. The main reason we're using these is because we get the 8% damage to targets out of cover, which is more applicative damage. We have 15% weapon damage, 8% damage to targets out of cover, and 12% critical hit damage. Moving on to our gloves, we have 170k armor with 12% critical hit damage. And finally, the Memento backpack, giving us 3 cores, 15% weapon damage, 170k armor on 1 skill tier. And then we have 12% critical hit damage via mod and the kill confirmed talent. For those of you who do not have the Memento backpack, then I recommend a Grupo Sombra or a Fenris backpack. and then use the vigilance talent. This talent goes very well with this build because when you have bonus armor, it stacks over your base armor, so when you take damage while having bonus armor, you don't lose the vigilance talent. Moving on to the skills, and this is a build that doesn't require a shield, so don't forget to smash that like button. We have the striker drone, which is going to help push enemies as well, because for some reason when it shoots them in the head, they light up. We have 7.5% duration, 10% health, and then 4.8% damage. Moving on to my favourite skill in the game, the Banshee Pulse. We have 15% radius on that mod and 15% effect duration on that mod. And that is pretty much it for the build, guys. I'm going to move on to the stat sheet now. I'm not going to talk through it. Let me know what you think about this build in the comment section below. A pretty basic and easy build to make for any of you who are returning to the game. A lot of fun to use, gets you through content really fast. If you haven't already, don't forget to smash that like button to help us reach that 500 like goal. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Today's build is one of the most simple and basic builds to make and offers an insane amount of damage, utility and survivability. Just off one kill alone you're looking at 30% armor on kill, 50% bonus armor on kill, 100% health on kill, status effect on kill, 5% rate of fire on kill, 20% movement speed on kill and 15% weapon damage on kill. This isn't including all the crit damage on kill you can stack, helping you reach up to 225% as well as max crit chance, depending on the weapon variations you use. At its base, this build has 1.7 million armor and fully stacked is capable of reaching well over 3 million. On top of being a tank, we have all the survivability that I just mentioned plus 3% armor regen. So not only do you have burst forms of healing on kill, but passive healing as well, both types helping in different situations. You could also take that survivability even further by running Unbreakable for that 95% armor repair if your armor gets depleted, making you near enough unkillable. Now if that isn't impressive enough, when it comes to this build's damage numbers, when fully stacked you're looking at 1.3 million plus crits to the head of NPCs and 1 million plus to the body. With all buffs active against players in the DZ, you're hitting between 200k and 250k crits. This comes from a mix of high crit damage and amplified damage. What makes this build so overpowered though is the synergy between the gear talents, skills, specialization and weapon talents. They all chain together to make an insanely strong build that just gets stronger and stronger the more you kill players or NPCs. Right guys, starting off with the specialization and we are using the gunner. Reason being is it synergizes so well with the rest of our build. This specialization offers DPS, survivability and utility. As you can see, we get the right foam grenade, which is great for both PVE and PvP. If you can funnel enemies and then use this grenade, you will snare a bunch of them, which makes them easier to kill. Up next, killing enemies grants 10% armor, which adds on to the 20% we already have on our build, taking us to a total of 30%. Next, every third reload is 50% faster. That's going to add to DPS, and it comes in clutch, especially when you're using a low mag SMG. The armor kit on this build gives us 100% armor repair and then 30% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Every specialization has a skill with it that you can unlock, and as you can see is the Banshee Pulse. You can see in the gameplay that is very effective, stuns NPCs making them easier to kill. This specialization also generates 10% of total ammo capacity every 60 seconds. Which is great if you're a solo player because you'll find you'll never run out of ammo. If you're not picking it up through NPCs, then this specialization will be replenishing it for you. Up next, rate of fire increased by 5% on kill. This is just going to add to our DPS, helping us kill faster. 50% pulse resistant, that's going to help when you're in a dark zone. And that is pretty much it for the specialization. So with that said, let's move on to the build breakdown. Let's get into the gear pieces. So we have 4 pieces of Hunted Fury. The 2 piece gives us the SMG damage that we're looking for at 15%. 3 pieces gives us 20% armor on kill, which will be 30% thanks to the gunner specialization. We have 100% health on kill, and then the 4 piece gives us a 20% weapon damage, amplified weapon damage buff against enemies within 15 meters. Killing a debuffed enemy with a weapon disorientates other enemies within 5 meters and amplifies weapon damage by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. That's an extra 25% weapon damage. So it's just amplified damage and weapon damage out of the ears. Looking at the attributes, we have max armor at 170k, we have 12% critical hit damage and 6% critical hit chance via a mod. Moving on to the chest piece, we have a Sokolov chest piece giving us 10% SMG damage, we have 15% weapon damage, 6% critical hit chance, 12% critical hit damage and 12% critical hit damage via a mod. The talent we are using is Intimidate, while you have bonus armor, amplifies total weapon damage by 35% to all enemies within 10 meters. We're also going to be stacking untold amounts of bonus armor, which means we'll have that 35% amplified damage a lot of the time. Moving on to the Hunter's Fury holster, we have 170k armor, so maxed out armor and then 12% critical hit damage. All my pieces are maxed out, guys. I managed to optimize all of them, and with this being a gear set, it's one less attribute that you have to spec into, which makes it easier to optimize. Hunter's Fury knee pads, again maxed out, 170 armor and 12% critical hit damage. Onto our Hunter's Fury gloves, we have maxed out armor, 170k again, and then 12% critical hit damage. The idea, guys, is you want maxed out armor and 12% critical hit damage across the board, apart from either one mod or one attribute roll at 6% crit chance, just to get you to the 50% plus mark. And finally, the backpack, and of course it's the best in slot for any solo build in the game. It is the Memento, offering 50% weapon damage, maxed armor, so a full blue core, one red core and one yellow core. Again, that is going to go towards our skill along with a TDI card, so your skills will be a 2 tier. Moving on to our skills, and I highly recommend the decoy, not only for PvE because it distracts NPCs, but for PvP. My secondary skill I'm using is the Banshee Pulse. Reason I'm using this is it just stuns multiple NPCs, makes it easier for me to go ahead and proc the Vindictive talent and also the Finisher talent to help me stack up on that crit damage. When it comes to mods on this, I have 6.5% cone size and 15% effect duration. When it comes to the mods on the decoy, I have 7.5% health and 7.5% duration. The longer it's down, the better. I will also say, if you're using the TDI card, the second skill tier only applies when you have the pistol out. Now moving on to the stat sheet, also don't forget to smash that like button to help support the channel, as it's going to help our videos grow. Leave a comment down below and I'll reply like I always do. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Now what Hunter's Fury does have over Striker is more utility in the form of armor and status effect on kill, which is majorly effective and is a great help for new players. But in my opinion, what makes Striker better is the damage is quicker to gain and easier to keep, very much like the Heartbreaker gear set. You're also not required to get kills to gain stacks or kill within a 10-second time frame to keep stacks. All you have to do with Strikers is land your shots. Striker's damage also isn't limited by a range like Hunter's Fury, allowing you to do high damage up close and at distance. The lack of utility in my opinion is made up in DPS via RPM and weapon handling, allowing SMGs to perform better at range. When it comes to Strikers, there's just a lot less requirements and restrictions to gain and keep damage. I will be using a chest piece in today's video, as it allows us to have 200 stacks and gives us more consistent damage. This build offers an insane amount of damage, survivability and utility. Just off one kill alone you gain 50% bonus armor on kill, 10% weapon damage on kill, 5% rate of fire on kill and 10% armor on kill. This isn't including all the crit damage on kill you can stack, helping you reach up to 225% as well as max crit chance depending on what weapon you use. At its base, this build has 1.7 million armor and fully stacked is capable of reaching well over 3 million. On top of being a mega tank, we have plenty of survivability from the two types of armor on kill, as well as 3% armor regen. So not only do we have burst forms of healing, but passive healing as well, both types helping in different situations. Now if all this isn't impressive enough, when it comes to the damage numbers when fully stacked, you're hitting 1 million plus crits to the head of NPCs and 850k plus crits to the body. So this build definitely isn't lacking in the damage department. This build is not only great for run and gun, but is also insanely good for medium range fights 20 meters plus. And as you can see, you can absolutely melt at that range with an SMG. In my opinion, the only true rival to the Striker gear set now is the Heartbreaker gear set. Let me know your opinions in the comment section below. To make the most of this build, guys, you'll need an aggressive playstyle to keep both damage and armor stacks active. The more you kill, the stronger you'll become. This is a perfect build for all heroic content, whether that's control points, bounties, the summit or countdown, and is a lot of fun to use. Now we have spoke a little bit about the build and I'll showcase some of what it's capable of. Let's get into a quick build breakdown. Moving on to our secondary, and I highly recommend using the ACS 12 when it comes to any build that stacks up like Striker or Heartbreaker. 20 rounds in the magazine of this, so you have plenty of rounds to get your stacks. When it comes to the talent on here, we have Vindictive. Killing an enemy with a status effect applied grants you and your allies within 15 meters 15% critical hit chance and 15% critical hit damage for 20 seconds. That is a nice lengthy buff. Looking at the attachments, we have 5% crit chance on the sight and 5% crit chance on the laser pointer. If you feel you're doing too much damage with this shotgun and killing enemies too fast, so you're not gaining your stacks, then switch these out for weapon handling based attachments. Onto our sidearm, and of course we have the Orbit pistol because it gives us the perfect finisher talent. This is what you're going to stack on top of your Vindictive talent. Swapping from this weapon within 10 seconds of killing an enemy grants 35% crit chance and 40% critical hit damage for 15 seconds. The attachments, 20% reload speed on the drum and 10% accuracy on the sight. Now if you don't have the Orbit, you can also use the new exotic Busy Bee pistol, which will help you easily gain another 60% weapon damage just marking 3 targets. Now moving into the gear pieces, guys, starting off with the Striker's Mask. Don't forget Striker's gives us 15% weapon handling from its 2-piece, the 3-piece gives us 15% rate of fire, and the 4-piece gives us Striker's Gamble. We have 170k armor, 10.3% critical hit damage, and 6% crit chance via a mod. Onto our Striker's chest piece, we have 15% weapon damage, 12% critical hit damage, and then 12% critical hit damage via a mod. We gain the Press the Advantage talent, which increases max stacks from Striker's Gamble from 100 to 200, 3 stacks lost per second between 100 and 200. All you have to do, guys, is keep up the aggression, and it's easy to keep the stacks up at 200, as you'll see in today's gameplay. Moving on to our holster, we have the named Picaro holster, which gives us 10% skill haste. That applies to our Banshee pulse, so we'll gain that back a little bit quicker. We have 156k armor, 12% critical hit damage, and then 15% weapon damage. Moving on to our Striker's knee pads now, we have 170k armor, 11.9% critical hit damage. Our Striker's gloves, 170k armor, 11.4% critical hit damage. And then finally, we have the Memento backpack, the best exotic in the game in my opinion, and the best thing to use if you're a solo player. 15% weapon damage, 170k armor, 1 skill tier, 12% critical hit damage via a mod, and then we have the kill confirmed talent. Moving on to the skills, we have the decoy. You can choose between either the decoy or the striker drone. I personally favour the striker drone as it seems to pull more attention and it lasts a lot longer. Moving on to our second skill, and this is a big part of the build, we have the Banshee Pulse. This skill is majorly going to help us run a gun. It's also going to help us stack all that crit chance and crit damage from the Vindictive and Finisher talent. Running the Banshee Pulse with these run and gun builds is honestly, in my opinion, one of the best ways to run builds in this game. Looking at the attachments, we have 15% radius and 15% effect duration. And that is pretty much it for the build, guys. Moving on to the stat sheet, not going to talk through it too much. We have 50% critical hit chance, 126.6% critical hit damage, which can go up to 225% if you stack both Vindictive and Finisher on top. This build is packed full of damage, survivability and utility, and it's just so much fun to run. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. If you haven't already, smash that like button to help us reach that 500 like goal, share the video to help other agents, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, Mob Squad.